Following the Second World War, the three victorious nations embarked on reshaping the global order into a new age of peace. However, with the Cold War at its height and the Vietnam War now underway, the United States struggles to expand its cities and national economy. Back in Missouri, the post-war period provides fertile ground for metropolitan renewal and growth. With the rapid expansion of the new interstate system across the United States, post-war economic activity created a need for upgraded infrastructure throughout the country's metro areas. One of the cities experiencing a boom in trade and commerce was St. Louis, Missouri. During this era, a post-war victory project was underway, the United States version of a triumphal arch. The now iconic St. Louis Gateway Arch, designed by Finnish-American architect Eero Saarinen, celebrates the historic Lewis and Clark expedition into the West. Saarinen finalized the design just 2 years after the end of the Second World War in 1947. Construction began approximately 16 years later, with the first of its prefabricated triangular pieces installed on February 12, 1963. Construction lasted for 2 years, with the last steel triangle set into place on October 28, 1965. The entire structure was composed of 142 stainless steel sections, each 12 feet long. Prefabrication of these triangles expedited the entire construction process and was an assembly method gaining popularity during this time. This period witnessed an acceleration of globalization, with products and industrial components manufactured through new, streamlined methods, reaching consumers at an unprecedented pace. As it entered the mid-1960s, southeast Missouri was experiencing rapid growth. This era witnessed a transformative shift in American middle-class life, as enlarged shopping centers and supermarkets became a staple of daily life. Soon the population gravitated from its original riverfront district to embrace these retail spaces and the encroaching highways. In the middle of these innovations, the Cape Girardeau area's very own Oscar C. Hirsch envisioned a groundbreaking project, a new broadcast studio in the old downtown district, the first building of its kind in the region. By 1954, he was in his Broadway Street studio location, broadcasting Cape Girardeau's first television program. A few years later, in 1960, the Hirsch Broadcasting Company expanded its reach with the construction of the KFVS television transmitting tower. The transmitting tower was the world's tallest man-made structure when it was built. Some 9 years later, the Cape Girardeau Procter & Gamble plant would open nearby. By the end of 1966, Pennsill Construction was hired by Oscar as he set out to expand his media business with the construction of an enormous broadcast studio and office tower complex. The extreme cold weather experienced that winter caught them by surprise. The Pennsill team had to improvise. The walls of the first stories were covered with polyethylene tarps. These allowed the installation of heaters in order for the concrete to cure at the necessary 70 degrees Fahrenheit. These warm temperatures had to be kept day after day, so long as the freezing weather lasted. Once the cold lifted, steel beams and foundation walls were complete, with the beams placed over the top of the walls to frame what would soon become the floor on the ground level. Designed as an ultra-modern studio, KFVS Television would be the first company to bring full-color television to the region. At this time, a crew of dozens of men from various trade backgrounds descended on the project: carpenters, electricians, plumbers, and the Pennzoil Construction team of engineers and contractors managed the work. From out of the earthwork and concrete pours, a forest of pillars rose from the dirt as a foundation formed. These support columns were infused with inch-thick steel reinforcing rods, providing the stability to the studio that would reside above. Cape Ready Mix, the concrete subcontractor, played a crucial role in ensuring a constant supply of concrete throughout the process. As the spring days of 1967 wore on, the garage area took shape. With the concrete walls clearly visible, additional support columns rose from the construction site, with each floor purportedly large enough for a full-size gymnasium and room for spectators. The assembly of the second floor commenced with an intricate network of scaffolds and steel beams that rose gracefully through the summer. As the months progressed, the studio itself took form. Above this layer, a steel lattice was meticulously bolted into place, enabling the construction to consist of hundreds of tons of concrete that would typically be unable to support its own weight. After months of foundation preparation, the upper floor of the studio was capped off. The foundation of the tower gradually took form. Additional beams and columns emerged, partitioning the studio areas and extending into the tower, forming a seemingly unending procession of concrete pours. At the forefront of the construction zone, a crane utilized radio communication to coordinate transfer of material from the unseen side of the structure. This crane strategy allowed Pennzoil Construction to save hundreds of man-hours. During this phase, a second crane was specifically added for the installation of the first prefabricated wall panels. Pennzoil Construction Company devised its own method for prefabrication. The introduction of prefabricated panels moved Pennzoil Construction Company firmly into a new era. These panels were precast on-site using crushed Colorado white quartz, chosen not only for its structural qualities, but also for its aesthetic appeal. The wall panels, each measuring 10 feet by 22 feet and weighing approximately 10 tons, were carefully fitted around the studio portion of the building. Maneuvering these massive panels into position required a team of highly trained engineers working with the on-site cranes. By the late summer months of 1967, the construction work had progressed to the third level, and the studio area was successfully capped. The focus then shifted to the construction of the office tower. A crucial step in the process involved welding reinforcing steel into square floor sections while they were on the ground. These sections were then hoisted into position by crane and permanently fitted in place by steelworkers. This systematic approach continued floor after floor as the tower steadily rose. The vertical panels on the tower weighed approximately 2 tons each, and they were all carefully fastened into place. The tower continued to form with the addition of the stark vertical lines. By late 1967, it had risen by another 6 floors. On December 13, 1967, Pennzoil Construction Company held its ongoing Christmas tradition of topping out the building with an evergreen tree. Don McNeely, the KFVS TV program director at the time, announced it to the viewers across parts of 6 states during a live broadcast of the ceremony. That same month, the last of the vertical strips were placed up to the top of its tower. The building went on to open in the summer of 1968. The Hirsch Tower and Studio project reshaped downtown Cape Girardeau, and it stands to this day as a testament to the engineering prowess of Pennzoil Construction Company. The project was a first of its kind for the region, shoring up Cape Girardeau's position as the economic and cultural nexus of southeast Missouri and southern Illinois. Pennzoil Construction Company, now firmly established as a major contractor in the Midwest, was ready to charge into the fast-changing economic period of the post-war decades as a leading innovator in the construction industry.